Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled you're joining me for this explainer today. We're unpacking what I honestly think is one of the most phenomenal character arcs in modern storytelling. We're going to map out the incredible evolution of Claudia Reid across the first 3 seasons of Queen's Village. Now, if you've been following this lore, you already know just how deep it goes. But today, we're going to break it all down step by step so you can see exactly how the massive puzzle pieces of her destiny fit together. Let's dive right in.
So how does a simple tea shop owner become the literal anchor of reality? I mean, it almost sounds completely absurd when you say it out loud, right? But that is exactly the massive scale of Claudia's upcoming transformation. We're going to look at how someone who is perfectly content with a quiet, mundane life gets pulled into a sprawling supernatural conflict that literally bends reality itself.
Just think about the stark contrast of Claudia's journey for a second. Back in Season 1, she runs Maggie T's, she's protected by her friends, just living a perfectly ordinary life. But then, fast forward to Season 3. She is the keeper of the aftermath. She's followed by ancient remnants as a literal reality bender. It perfectly demonstrates the sprawling journey we're about to unpack. Going from brewing a nice cup of tea to holding the entire universe together? Now that's a massive leap.
Now, this incredible evolution doesn't just happen overnight. It unfolds in 4 distinct escalating steps. Step 1, she's just a woman with a strange feeling, kind of noticing things aren't quite right. Step 2, she assumes the massive mantle of the Keeper of Dawn. Step 3 pushes her even further as the Keeper of the Aftermath. And finally, Step 4, she becomes the Anchor. Each of these titles beautifully illustrates the sheer escalation of her power and the staggering responsibility she takes on in the lore.
Let's kick things off with Season 1, The Awakening. To really appreciate how far she goes, we have to start at the very beginning. Before the truth comes out, Claudia's whole world revolves around Maggie T's tea shop. And this isn't just a business for Claudia, you know? It's her sanctuary, it's her comeback, it is her absolute kingdom. Her routine is entirely anchored by love and safety, surrounded by Penny, Lucy, and the Breakfast Club elders. I really want to emphasize the warmth of this starting point because it creates such a massive juxtaposition with the terrifying threats that are about to breach her front door.
And those threats, well, they start as these small, eerie signs. Penny the dog starts growling at completely empty hallways. The lights begin to flicker. There's this strange, heavy presence hovering around the back door. Oh, and then there's Officer David News, who just keeps showing up with absolute perfect timing. These breadcrumbs are so crucial. They build up the suspense and really signal to us that David holds some dangerous secrets connecting to something much, much older and darker.
Which leads us to the night that changes absolutely everything. Officer David News finally drops this chilling revelation. Someone has been watching Claudia for a long time. Just let the dramatic weight of that sink in for a second. This isn't some random break-in at her shop. This is targeted. Her spirit is whispering warnings she can't even explain, and this quote right here, it signals the permanent, absolute end of her normal life.
So the crucial question is, what happens when the shadows finally break in? Because something is coming for her, and it is definitely not human. I'm going to leave you hanging on that question for just a second, because this is the exact momentum that propels the narrative directly into the deeper, darker lore of the second season.
Moving right into Season 2, The Fracture.
Okay, this is where the true escalation really kicks in. The strange feelings and flickering lights, gone. The concept of fracturing comes to the absolute forefront. Claudia discovers an ancient parchment hidden in the Reformed Church, and it reveals her actual destiny. She is the Keeper of Dawn. Finding her true name totally initiates her into this deadly legacy. And the crazy part, she isn't alone. 3 ancient children, Flame, Moon, and Star, awaken and attach themselves to her. They call her Keeper. They literally know her before she even truly knows herself.
But, as you might guess, with immense light comes an ancient darkness. Enter the Hollow. These are shadow beings who once carried the light but completely lost it. Because they cannot create, they have to feed on hope, faith, memory, and children. It's incredibly dark. They are a terrifying new threat, and they hunger for the very light and wholeness that Claudia possesses.
And pulling all the strings behind the scenes is the Architect. He's the entity that erased Claudia's name, he marked her bloodline, he actively hunts keepers. And what's really tragic about this whole revelation is the lie he exposes to Claudia. Her mother didn't die trying to protect her. Actually, her mother died running from the exact destiny Claudia is now forced to face head-on.
But despite the Architect's hunt, Claudia's light fully awakens.
She becomes the first keeper in history to survive wholeness, ending the cycle. Now, wholeness is the absolute thematic anchor here. Her survival forces the Hollow to retreat. But here's the catch. By surviving something that was meant to literally kill her, she inadvertently triggers something far, far older.
Which brings us to another massive turning point. What ancient cosmic force is awakened when a keeper finally survives the fracture? I mean, she beat the architect, right? She survived wholeness. But the universe always demands a balance, and her sheer survival has cracked the very foundation of the world.
Which brings us to Season 3, The Anchor. Now, this is the final stage of the evolution we're covering today, where Claudia finally stops merely surviving her terrifying circumstances and actually begins to lead. Her survival? Well, it summoned the unknown. And get this, it is not a being, it's a consequence. It is a presence older than the architect, and it was entirely awakened by Claudia's wholeness. It's this incredibly daunting force that bestows upon her a brand new, frankly terrifying title, Keeper of the Aftermath.
And the consequence of the aftermath is that reality just starts to bleed. Ordinary people suddenly begin remembering events they never even lived through. They remember the first dawn. They remember the first Keeper's War. They remember the first fracture. Memory actually becomes this living, breathing force just flooding the minds of innocent people. It's absolute chaos.
As you can imagine, this takes an immense physical toll on Claudia. A literal crack of light splits right across her chest. This is the first real sign of intense instability. A fragment of the first keeper's shadow, which is known as the visitor, reveals a devastating truth. Claudia isn't the first whole keeper. She is just the first one to survive it. And soon after, the first keeper herself appears, fractured, barefoot, and wild.
The first keeper delivers this incredible, dramatic warning. She says, "Wholeness must be chosen, or it breaks you." I want you to just imagine for a second carrying the crushing, absolute weight of an entire world's ancient memories. If she doesn't make a choice, that literal crack of light in her chest is going to shatter her completely.
So, the unknown demands an impossible choice to stop her from breaking. Frame this in your mind as the ultimate universal dilemma. Will Claudia choose the light, the shadow, or something entirely new? What does a keeper of the aftermath even use as an anchor when reality itself is literally tearing apart?
And here is the triumphant climax of her entire evolution. Claudia chooses neither the light nor the shadow. She chooses herself. And by choosing herself, she seals the crack. She becomes the first new anchor the world has ever seen. Reality itself bends toward her. Wind, memory, instinct, the whole shebang. And the survivors of the first keeper's breaking, known as the remnants, they step through. But they don't arrive as soldiers or worshippers. They arrive as witnesses to the new anchor. She steps up, shares the weight, and takes absolute command.
So now that Claudia has stepped forward as the keeper who leads, what new realities will she shape next? The horizon has opened up like a door. I mean, she went from brewing tea at Maggie T's to literally holding the fabric of the universe together. It's a stunning evolution, and it really makes you wonder just how much further her light can reach. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep wondering, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.